I am Nate WL777 and this is Character Piece. Today we'll be reviewing an anime by the name of Overlord. It was originally released in 2015. I'm only reviewing the first season, which is 12 episodes long. This is considered a dark fantasy anime. It centers around Momonga, a young gamer named Momonga, who is trapped in a game that is closing down. Him and his guild mates have a last meeting together. They say their goodbyes. He ends up falling asleep before he's able to log off. Everyone else logs off. He wakes up and he is trapped inside of this world. He now has to go on living as his avatar, a skeletal wizard magic caster named Ainz Ao Gon. And he is, I probably didn't say that right, but you get the picture. He ends up having to go throughout this world that is now developing emotions. These are a bunch of NPCs who are becoming aware of reality and their emotions and stuff like that. So that is the gist of the anime. The basis for it, he goes on to conquer this new land. Being a very powerful wizard, he has a lot of the ability to do so. So that's his new life trapped in the game. First thing I want to say is that the characters, which is the first thing I want to talk about. To me, I felt like I couldn't really connect with any of the characters. Again, these were like NPCs, and I get that. I understood the premise of it. I felt like it was hard for me to wrap my head around that aspect of it. For some reason, I was kind of disenfranchised with that part of the storyline, and there was no real human emotions for me to connect to. There's probably people that watch anime that view things a lot more different than I do, but I very much care about characters. I think that obviously I've called my channel Character Piece. I always talk about my favorite character. I like to be attached to the characters, and I just felt like it was really impossible for me to get connected to any of these characters. Even at times, what I would try to do is try to disconnect a little bit and view these as, it's not NPCs. Tell yourself this is just fantasy. Again, it's called dark. It's labeled a dark fantasy. So this is just a fantasy land. It does work a little bit better. However, as you're going throughout the story, you end up always being reminded about this person being created here, or how how are the people outside of this game doing? I hope I'm not, those kind of things. So it really kind of took me out of that aspect, and it happened a lot. I was always being reminded, hey, this is a game. So I really wasn't allowed to kind of dive into that. And again, just for the character purposes, it was a little hard. Some of the characters I didn't really care for either. I found them a little bit annoying, and I felt like a lot of the characters were a little over the top. Again, that's what they were going for. I just kind of felt like, for me, it didn't really work. The main character himself, I felt like really, I didn't really like him. I didn't like the voice. I didn't really like much about him. The design I thought looked good, but as far as the story was concerned, I felt like they definitely had something with the story. I think that is very interesting. A person getting trapped into this world, and as these things are coming alive, I feel like in a lot of areas they didn't necessarily achieve that goal. But overall, like the storyline itself, I think would have worked under different conditions. I think it would have worked much better. A little too much exposition, I think, is probably something else that I would critique here on the story. The dialogue was a little bit boring between the characters. I really didn't ever get really invested in that part of the story, and I felt like there was just like definitely too much exposition. There is a lot of action. There is action at times in this. I wish there would have been more. The action scenes worked really, really well, and the story of the fight scenes and things like that, I thought that was fantastic. That was probably the best thing in the anime. Those were a lot of fun, and I did like some of the dialogue between characters during those fight scenes. Again, I felt like just a little too much exposition. You just don't need to explain every single detail, and it really kind of drove me nuts. So I think that it definitely had potential. I think that it could have been a much better story under the right circumstances. The art, I think the art itself is the strongest thing in this anime. It is definitely clear and clean anime, and the designs of the characters themselves was really, really great. The best thing to me in the entire anime was kind of that animation style during the design, especially the world build, during the fight scenes and stuff like that. All of the things going on around you, they do a mixture of like spells and like buffs. If you don't know what a buff is, it's something, I don't know why you would know what a buff is, but if you don't know what a buff is, it's something to increase your, I'm going to add here onto my damage, or here I'm going to add to my shield, whatever the case may be. I thought that was really, really a cool aspect of it, and my favorite part of it was the mixing together of those and having it be visually brought to life as you're watching it. Like there's, the art scenes that go off while you're casting a spell or while you're casting a buff, and then the actual fight scenes themselves was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun during those. I wish it would have just been a lot more fighting, to be honest with you, and a lot less dialogue and a lot less exposition. Even during the fight scenes, I felt like there was a lot of exposition. Definitely took me out of it. This, like I said, this could have been a lot better, I think, under the right circumstances. Overall, I would say it didn't really hit with me. It didn't really work with me. I made it through. It was worth a watch, and I made it through. The first season, and I felt like at that point, the reason I'm only doing one season is that I didn't really want to continue. I have a whole list of anime to get to. There's ones that I'm very excited about. There's old animes that I want to bring back and talk about. So I just didn't want to keep going, and I think that kind of says how I feel about the anime itself. I found it a little bit boring. That's all. I couldn't connect with the characters. Again, fun fight scenes and stuff. As far as for kids, I would say, again, I only watched the first season, so I can only go by the first season. There might be something more. If you know, please comment below and let me know if there's more. But I didn't feel like there was a whole lot of stuff that I wouldn't let my son watch. There was a little bit of cleavage in it. There was definitely some sexual talk and suggestion and stuff like that. There was definitely some of that in there. But I mean, ultimately, I do feel like my son probably could definitely watch this. I would say, I'd let him. My favorite character here is going to be Shoutier. I believe that's how you say her name, is Shoutier. She was probably the most interesting arc of all of the characters, including, I kind of felt like I liked her more. I mean, obviously she's my favorite character, otherwise I would have picked him, but I liked her more than the main character. A lot of the NPCs that were with him, which are a big part of it, I thought they were just kind of there. And again, I do want to point out, just make it clear, I only watched the first season, so they could dive a lot more into this, into the second and the third season, and really make it a good story that, I don't know. I'm only going based off of the first season, and I just felt like no connection to really any of the characters. They didn't have a lot to do, and so with hers, she actually had a pretty good arc in it, and I felt like they used her real well. The fight scenes with her in it were real fun. She was really a dark, evil, kind of like twisted psychopath, basically. I just thought that she was the most interesting out of all the characters in there, and so that's my favorite character. I'm going to go ahead and rate this at a 7.8. Again, worth watching. I definitely, I think that the art and the fight scenes and stuff like that will get you through. If you find it interesting enough and you go on to the next couple seasons, it could get a lot better. I don't know. But again, I didn't feel like continuing. So yeah, a 7.8 I think here. I was kind of disappointed because I was looking forward to watching this. Just had no connection with any of the characters on really any level at all. So that's it. I'm going to go ahead and leave a link, because I always do, below. And if you like the anime, if you found it, or the review, if you found it useful and helpful, give me a like, give me a sub. Let me know below who's your favorite character. Was I right about this? Was I wrong about this? Talk below. Thanks for watching.